A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mutanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President Maithripala Sirisena highlights the need for gentleman politics.
Lankaවේ දේශපාලනේ මහත්තුරු කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද?
Signs that the controversial coal deal will be referred for discussion in cabinet once again. Attorney General's department prepares to file 30 cases from the FCID.
කරන ඉන්නේ අලිබබා හා පොරු 40.
නිසා දැන් පොරු හිරේ යන්නේ නිකන් වීරකමක් කරලා වගේ.
New pipeline to replace faulty oil pipeline from Colombo harbour to Sapugaskanda refinery. New compensation scheme for people who lost lands to the Moragahakanda reservoir project.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that gentleman politics is needed to take the country forward.
The 16th death anniversary of late Dharma Sirisena Nayaka, who was a Minister of Media and a General Secretary of the SLFP, was commemorated at the Warakapula Town Hall today. Late Dharma Sirisena Nayaka, who was famous among the locals of Tadikama as Podi Mahathya, is considered a people's politician. A stamp was also issued in memory of the late minister.
ලංකාවේ දේශපාලනේ මහත්තුරු කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද?
How many gentlemen are there in Sri Lankan politics? How many individuals are there who are suitable for the politics of the country? That is a question that is in the hearts of the people. I associated Dharma Sirisena Nayaka first during the 1970 general election. The main reason he is respected is because he was able to win the hearts of everybody. He carried out politics without any enemies. When he died, he did not have millions and billions of money in his pockets or in his bank accounts. After engaging in politics for a long period of time, after holding a chairmanship of many corporations, after holding ministerial positions, after being at the helm of the Bar Association, and after making and toppling governments, he did not have lands, houses and vehicles in his name at the time of his demise. He did not have pounds and dollars or rupees in his accounts. I see him as a personality who is needed for today's politics rather than in the past. There was a referendum held for Britain to come out of the European Union. When the referendum result came out, the Prime Minister David Cameron said that he will resign and a new Prime Minister must take over. It was only 1 year since David Cameron became the Prime Minister. He had 4 more years, but that was not a problem. He went home like a gentleman. I say this to all who say everything that is Western should be rejected. Whether it be from the West, the East, the South or the North, we must take what is good from the world.
ලෝකෙන් අපි යහපත් දේ සුදුසු දේ අපි ගන්න ඕනේ.
The Sunday Times newspaper reports that the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy is to refer the Cabinet's decision once again on the controversial coal tender. The newspaper reports that the ministry will ask Cabinet to decide whether to cancel the multi-billion rupee coal tender and face a substantial compensation claim or to continue with the contract.
Quoting the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, Suren Bhattagoda, the Sunday Times newspaper says that the ministry would put the relevant paper to Cabinet this week. According to the newspaper report, Bhattagoda said the Attorney General's department too had advised that it was for the Cabinet to make the choice. However, the report says that the chairman of Lanka Coal Company, Maitri Gunaratne, has already written to Swiss Singapore Overseas Enterprises Pte Limited, the firm which won the tender, suspending the next scheduled shipment of coal. Suren Bhattagoda goes on to note that Swiss Singapore was likely to seek compensation for breaching an international agreement. The Auditor General had submitted a query to the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy regarding a loss of 1.8 billion rupees which the country had incurred through this transaction. Considering a petition filed by a privately owned company, the Supreme Court said that the manner in which the tender was awarded had shocked its conscience. Meanwhile, speaking in Parliament recently, Chief Opposition Whip Anura Kumara Dissanayake said that the committee appointed by the President in this regard had informed that the manner in which the coal tender had been awarded to Swiss Singapore Overseas Enterprises Pte Limited was wrong. Amidst such a backdrop, the move by the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy to refer the matter to the Cabinet once again was criticised at various political meetings and media briefings today.
The highest court in Sri Lanka says that they are alarmed by this matter. So is this not enough for it to be taken to the FCID? If there is anyone involved, may it be the subject minister or ministry secretary, all of them must be taken to the FCID and investigated, shouldn't they? But there is no investigation as yet. Now the secretary to the ministry is preparing to put yet another paper to cabinet in this regard. This is how it is. But they should remember that the people have it in mind that this government can fool the people. Well, the people cannot be fooled that easily. When the Chief Justice of the previous government did not issue a decision in this regard to the wishes of Mahinda Rajapaksa, measures were taken to send her home. Today, when the Auditor General is showing the shortcomings of this government, they are saying that the Auditor General is wrong. During the hearing with regard to the recent coal scam, the Supreme Court very clearly determined that this matter shocked their conscience and that this tender should be suspended and fresh tenders must be called under competitive bidding. But Nalin Bandara convenes another press briefing and says that the Auditor General's report is wrong. Nalin Bandara should first go and get his head examined. If the Auditor General was wrong, that would have been said in court. So there is no point in making various statements now. This government must immediately stop meddling with the affairs of the institutions that implement the law. We are in the process of printing and distributing the evidence we have on the theft committed by the previous government as well as those in the current government.
While Sri Lanka is mired in a multi-billion rupee controversy involving coal, the rest of the world is progressing away from the so-called dirty fuel source.
Norway has announced that it will ban the sale of all fossil fuel-based cars in the next decade, continuing its trend towards becoming one of the most ecologically progressive countries on the planet. Politicians from both sides of the political spectrum have reportedly reached some concrete conclusions about 100% of Norwegian cars running on green energy by 2025. If passed, it would be particularly significant because a large proportion of Norway's funds rely on the country's petroleum industry. Norway isn't the only country considering the switch to green energy vehicles. India plans to switch entirely to electric cars by 2030, while the Netherlands is considering the same proposal as their European counterpart by 2025. In a speech to the UN General Assembly in 2015, Sweden's Prime Minister also announced that his country will work towards becoming one of the first fossil fuel-free welfare states in the world. Denmark, Germany, China, Scotland, as well as other countries like Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Kenya and Morocco are among other countries in the world leading the evolution from fossil fuels to a completely renewable energy-driven economy.
Speaking at an event held in Mavatakama, Kurunegala today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe proclaimed that the corrupt would be punished and that the development of the country would continue.
An event to recruit new members to the United National Party was held in Kurunegala today.
Kurunegala, Colombo.
We will create a development corridor from Kurunegala to Hambantota via Colombo. There is only one such corridor in the region, and that is the Delhi-Mumbai corridor of development. We will fill the harbour that was previously used to catch fish with ships. There wasn't even a Dandumonara machine that arrived at the Mattala airport. When we carry out our activities in 5 years, there will be 1 million people who arrive there, and it will be at its maximum. The place they tried to reclaim in Colombo, the port city, I said, let's make it a city of money. There is no place to do financial transactions between Dubai and Singapore. Separate laws will be brought in, and if a person has the talent, he can make about $1,000 or $2,000 there. The people who rob are with Alibaba and the 40 thieves. That is the difference in the country at present. Some say that it is enough to rob for themselves and that there is no point in developing the country. There is the UNP and the SLFP in this. If we try to take revenge from the SLFP, they start shouting. If someone tries to take revenge from the UNP, we start shouting. If it's the JVP, they will start shouting in the parliament. So therefore, you cannot take revenge. Everyone is on TV now. They show them going into prison and even coming out. They show everything, but that is okay.
Speaking at an event in the Hakmana town, parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa said that the Prime Minister is trying to suppress the media.
Now you can see the democracy and good governance through this suppression. The media is being threatened. They're telling the opposition that if they get onto the streets to put on various charades, they will be thrown behind bars. That is what the Prime Minister indirectly said, didn't he? Well, I just got back from prison, so going back isn't an issue for me.
Vasanta Samarasinghe of the Voice Against Corruption movement made these remarks about politicians in prison at a media briefing convened today.
Namal
Rajapaksa was taken into custody and released in a week. The government does this to give their own people a high. As an organization, we have submitted hundreds of complaints. With some effort, we waited, wondering that maybe the current government was not acting on new files because there were too many files from the previous government. Now the rogues go to prison as if they have committed some heroic act. We have grave suspicions about this activity. There is a case against Kumara Velgama alleging he paid 50,000 rupees to a consultant. While there is a case against Velgama, current Cabinet Minister Kiriyalla has appointed 62 consultants and is spending public funds on them. Doesn't this cabinet have eyes or ears to hold him accountable? When punishing the corrupt, you should wait to finish up the old files before tackling the new ones. When you go to the police and complain that a shop was broken into last night, they will not tell you that they cannot look into it because they are investigating break-ins from 2 years ago. Will they? The police will investigate last night's break-in. That is the law, taking action on the most recent crime.
The Auditor General's Department says that officials at the department are studying 30 investigation reports submitted by the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division or FCID with a view to initiating legal action. The Attorney General says the services of lawyers with specialized knowledge will be sought for this purpose. Attorney General Jayanta Jayasuriya noted that due to the depth and complexity of certain investigation reports and given that investigations are ongoing in certain areas with regard to some cases, indictments cannot be filed instantly. 13 cases have been filed at the High Court thus far in connection with acts of fraud and corruption alleged to have been carried out in the recent past.
Three of the numerous public projects that fell through the net of political agendas are currently being carried out. We are working day and night to complete renovation work on the Damanayaya road.
Imagine having to travel to school every day with containers for carrying water instead of books. This is a special report on the village of Uttuchene in Batticaloa. From the day these children are enrolled at the Uttuchene Mixed School in Batticaloa, the laborious task of carrying water becomes a daily chore. While the name of the village indicates the presence of natural springs, this is in stark contrast to reality.
We suffer without water. We have to go to the pipe at the Kovil to get water to drink. We don't carry books, we carry water.
About 150 children from the village of Uttuchene, Vadamuna and Viranagar receive their education at this school where the only thing that is not in short supply is shortcomings. One of the so-called classrooms is a tin roof shack while the other is a palm-thatched shack. In spite of the destitution, the children, teachers and parents are not asking for modern facilities. All they ask for is a drop of water to quench their thirst. Our children are suffering. When they go to school, they have to carry containers for water on their shoulders. We don't have water either. We have to go to the pipe at the Kovil. It is far away. No matter how much we have asked the authorities for a pipeline bringing clean water, no one has looked into our plight. The 5 teachers at this school travel 85 kilometers from Batticaloa to reach the village. In addition to teaching, they also have to make time to help the children find water.
I have served at this school for 1.5 years. I travelled from Batticaloa, which is 85 kilometers away. I cannot carry water from there. There is no water at all in this village. The children have to carry water in these containers. In addition to teaching, we travel by bicycle to find water for the children.
The only tube well at the premises of the Uttuchene Mixed School dried up several years ago. The government, the 100 Days project, is committed to undertaking the construction of a water scheme to ease the burden on these children who are forced by circumstances to bear this weight. However, it will take the contributions of good people from across the country to realize this dream. Say that repair work on a ruptured oil pipeline carrying crude oil from the Colombo port to the Sapugaskanda refinery has been delayed due to rough seas. The pipeline ruptured last afternoon.
One of the three pipes that form the pipeline, which carries oil from the pump at the buoy located about 6 kilometers from the harbour, ruptured last afternoon.
Repair work is ongoing. We could not do anything all of yesterday because the sea was very rough. The sea is very rough in this season. In spite of our efforts yesterday, nothing could be done. However, the sea had calmed by this morning, so repair work commenced. Work has been continuing since this morning.
Trade unions point out that this is not the first instance that a breakdown has occurred on this pipeline and buoy system. The buoy and pipeline we purchased in 2012, which had been rejected by 40 countries, ruptured in 2014 and once again yesterday. Shipping corporations charged late fees of over 1 billion rupees for 9 ships as a result. The pipeline at the Muthurajawala refinery also ruptured. The buoy ruptured on the 16th of last month and once again yesterday. What steps are being taken regarding this? While an Iranian ship carrying 90,000 metric tons of crude oil reached Sri Lanka yesterday, the fuel cannot be unloaded from the ship at present. These incidents of ruptured pipelines are arising because of substandard equipment. It is not only the financial loss, we must consider the danger as well. If this pipeline and the pipeline at the refinery rupture at the same time, it could lead to a disastrous situation. This happened in 2014. It is true that we will not be facing a fuel shortage now, but we are still using substandard pipes. Adopt new technology and affix B's or Dunlop pipes here. At the same time, punish the corrupt administration which enabled the Mahinda Rajapaksa regime and the political authority at the time to steal millions by affixing substandard pipes. While the pipeline system was purchased with the approval of the relevant procurement committee, speaking to News First, Subject Minister Chandima Wirakkodi highlighted problems with the system. The pipeline system was purchased in line with procurement procedures, but it is evident to us that there is a problem with the standard and quality of the pipeline system. That is why we decided to immediately establish an appropriate pipeline system. We decided today to establish a new system, and we have already procured the pipes to replace the underwater lines. We have decided to affix a new pipeline to unload crude oil. Delays in unloading oil from the Iranian ship, which is currently weighed anchor, will result in the state having to pay late fees of 2 million rupees per day. The pipeline is being repaired. Therefore, there will be no delays in unloading the crude oil. We have 96 hours to unload it, and it can be done in 72 hours. I must note that we will be able to unload the oil without having to pay any late fees.
The Moragahakanda Kaluganga project will commence tomorrow under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The Moragahakanda Reservoir is the last of the 5 major reservoirs that were to be established under the Grand Mahavali Plan. It operates under the direct supervision of President Maithripala Sirisena. The Sri Lanka Mahavali Authority says that compensation will be provided under a special program to individuals who lost their lands to the Moragahakanda Reservoir project. Under this special program, compensation would be paid exceeding the value of the government estimate of the loss incurred. Disarayaka said that 2,200 families from Laggala, Pallegama and Nawala administrative divisions will receive compensation. The Cabinet Subcommittee on Economic Affairs has been tasked with compiling a report after considering the proposal presented by President Sirisena to the Cabinet regarding compensation for the locals. The report is due to be submitted in a fortnight. The payment of compensation will be undertaken thereafter.
Up next is a look at our special segment, Frontline. Joining us on Frontline this evening is political commentator Bandula Jayasekara. Good evening, Bandula.
Good evening, Arun.
Now, are there gentlemen in politics? Now, this is in fact a question posed by President himself. Now, also given the controversy surrounding the coal deal and the central bank bond issuance, do you feel that we are lacking in gentlemen bureaucrats as well?
Yeah, both. I mean, I think it's sadly we lost one of our finest gentleman politicians today, that is Mangala Munasinghe. We lost him, and he was one of the finest I think Sri Lanka has produced, a gentleman to the fingertips. But it's sad to say that we don't have gentlemanly politicians as well as we don't have gentlemanly bureaucrats. We have a big problem in this country right now.
Now, there are several independent officers in the country, like the Chief Justice, the Auditor General and the Elections Commission. However, we are in a situation whereby even queries submitted by the Auditor General are being neglected. Does this mean that there is deep state within the bureaucracy?
Yeah, definitely. Now, take the case of the Auditor General. He is under fire. They are even questioning his qualifications. That isn't fair because he's an independent person. When it suits the politician, sometimes when it suits the official. This is the problem. So you should draw the middle, get the middle path. But so because of that, the people will suffer. The masses will suffer because of this issue, Arundhati.
Now, does this mean now the politicians are being governed by bureaucrats or the vice versa, we are used to the latter?
Yeah, but I would say that if officials do everything what the politicians, they have an agenda. Like it should be like India. See, governments come and go, but the bureaucracy remains, and the country is progress, country is run. But what happens is that we have a very difficult situation. Sometimes they don't listen the officials, but then the politicians have the power to move them. But then also you have politicians, like take the central bank issue. The politicians protecting certain officials. So these things have to change.
Now the country has incurred massive losses due to the so-called mistakes of these bureaucrats. Now what can be done with these mistakes?
I would say whether it's Arundhati politicians or bureaucrats, there should be accountability, and there should be proper punishment. And they have to take responsibility. That doesn't happen in this country. Till that happens, the whole system will not change. Both because finally, whether it's officials or the politicians, they are responsible to you and I, the masses.
Now, transparency was an election promise of this good government. Can we see transparency in these investigations?
No, not exactly. Not fully. That's what people are waiting. They want answers. Now, I want to bring back the central bank governor issue. It took more than a year, and there was a massive uproar. You don't have to go through all this rhetoric. I think they should change and they should listen to the people.
Is there hope for our country?
Maybe till there's hope, there's life. Till there's life, there's hope, Arundhati.
Thank you very much, Bandhu, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Could a government be toppled through Padayatra? This was a question posed at the opposition by UNP parliamentarian SM Marika at an event yesterday to distribute housing donations to low-income families in the Kolonava area.
Simply because they come to Colombo from Kandy on foot, the government will not be toppled. To whom did Mahinda Rajapaksa hand over the task of toppling the government? Basil Rajapaksa. And who is Basil Rajapaksa? He is the one who goes straight to hospital when he is imprisoned by courts. So this person who was supposed to walk from Kandy to Colombo next week suddenly fell ill the moment he was put in jail. If that is the case, if he does go on that march, he will fall ill and collapse on the road even before reaching Pilimatalava. Wait and see how he, who was arrested for all the theory, will come out of prison like a hero with his hands raised in the air. The people are looking at these jokes and nonsense.
Still in local news, UNP parliamentarian Buddhika Patrana attended an event held in Mathara today.
A few days ago, the 225 parliamentarians were ranked by an institution. From among the 225 parliamentarians, I was ranked third. Our Prime Minister was fourth. Now, just by saying this, I wondered if I would have to face a disciplinary inquiry. In Parliament, an MP in the opposition told me that when I was in the opposition, all I did was scream, and that even in the ruling party, I still pose questions and scream. So I told him, well, yes, the job the ruling party has given to me is one that requires me to scream. So if I too had got the position of a minister, deputy minister or state minister, I would be like the tortoise who flew by clinging on to a stick held by two cranes on either side. Why? Because I can't open my mouth. If I do, I would face the same fate as the tortoise did in the story. I would fall and shatter into pieces.
3 people from the same family were murdered in Vallaveli, Batiklo earlier today.
Our correspondent said that a 52-year-old man, a resident of Kakachivatte, Batikalo, had sustained multiple lacerations and had succumbed to his injuries after being admitted to hospital. The bodies of a 24-year-old woman and an infant were also found in a well nearby. Post-mortem examination showed that the woman had sustained multiple lacerations. The Wellavali police said that the woman's husband has been taken into custody in connection with the murders.
In sports news this evening, the Torch of Hope rally organised in support of Sri Lanka's athletes to enable them to achieve a nation's Olympic dreams reached Gampala today. The Torch of Hope rally is jointly organised by the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited with the support of the Sports Ministry, the National Youth Services Council and the Ministry of Education.
The rally commenced today's leg of the journey following customary religious observances at the Mutiyangana Raja Mahavihara. The station master at the Badulla railway station, K. Satish Kumar, flagged off the rally. The Torch of Hope was carried from Badulla to Haliala by rail. The Torch of Hope rally was welcomed in Nuwara by Assistant District Secretary SP Lindakumbura and the Headquarters Inspector of Police in Nuwara, Indika Udayanga. Niluka Rajasekara, who will represent Sri Lanka in the marathon event at the Rio 2016 Olympics, and her sister, junior athlete Sandamali Rajasekara, joined the Torch of Hope rally in Nuwara.
At a time when I'm physically tired out, I thank you for organising such an event to lift me up psychologically. I am delighted.
The last stop on day 11 of the Torch of Hope rally was Gampala, the home of Chamara Nuwan Dharmawardena, who will represent Sri Lanka in the judo event at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. The Torch of Hope rally was welcomed by the Headquarters Inspector of Police in Gampala, Dushanta Kandara, and Anil Siri Herat, an Assistant Director at the National Youth Services Council. The Torch of Hope rally will travel from Gampala to Matale via Kandy tomorrow.